Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my Absolutely Fried podcast. My name is Jezabelle. If you're watching on YouTube, hello. Please don't forget to subscribe. If you're more of a listener than a viewer, just know that this podcast is available to you on every streaming platform. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Samsung, Amazon, you name it, it's there. Just search Absolutely Fried and it'll pop up. Or you can check the description for the links to it. How are you all feeling today? Oh my God, it is my favorite day of the week. It is podcast day. Oh my goodness. Look, bud, this is going to be just as wild of a ride as last week's episode was, because if you enjoyed last week's episode, I really think you're going to enjoy this one. Last week, we kind of dived into my brain, I guess, and possible psychosis, possible schizophrenia, whatever you want to label it, maybe just questioning everything. But today I want to dive a little bit deeper into thought processes. And I think that this is going to be a fun episode because I actually want to get your input on any of these, honestly. And I've even got some questions for you guys myself. Today is going to be an episode that is about thought experiments and moral dilemmas. I specifically sought out the most fucked up ones that I could find. I sought out the most fucked up would you rathers, thought experiments, and moral dilemmas that I could find online. It took me a while to find some because I'll tell you, a lot of them online are pretty vanilla, and I felt like were very simple choices to make. So let's start off with some fun stuff. By fun stuff, I mean I'm going to take a hit first. All right. Let's see what we got. Some of these are kind of crazy. And let me just go ahead and give a forewarning that some of the stuff that we're about to discuss is going to be kind of crazy. So keep an open mind and no judgment on the answers, I guess, because this is kind of all like a question of our morality, where we stand, our thought process, what we think. And we'll get it more into why maybe we shouldn't judge so much on what people's answers and choices are. Maybe later on we'll get a little bit more into that. I'm going to pick a random one off this list I've got instead of just going straight down it. Let's start with this one. You discover a way to create a perfect replica of yourself with full memories and consciousness. Would you let it replace you in the real world? If you could clone yourself, but you... Okay, hold on. Because I added on to this one. I didn't even remember that I added this onto it. Let's start with the first half of the question. You discover a way to create a perfect replica of yourself with full memories and consciousness. Would you let it replace you in the real world? For me, my first thought when I read that was, if I could create a full replica of myself, I'm gonna be real with you. Yo, hold on, wait a minute. I don't know if I should say this, but I already told you guys that there was no judgment. You know what I mean? So... This is a no judgment zone. I'm going to say exactly what my first thought was when I read the shit. When I read that I could create like a complete clone of myself, the first thing I thought to myself was, I'd probably have sex with myself. Is that wrong? Is that wrong? I don't think it's wrong, because I think if I created a clone of myself and it's an actual clone of myself, I think said clone would also think the same thing. It would look at me and think, you know what? Let's fucking see what this is all about. Let's see what's all the hype about, guys. What's all the hype about? You know, I think that if I had like a Yelp page for like reviews for myself, I think that they'd be pretty high. I have not gotten any bad or constructive like feedback, to be honest. So I'd like to know, what is all the hubba bubba about with me? No, but seriously though, if I could clone myself and it would literally be an exact replica of me, would I let it replace me in the real world? Absolutely not. I don't trust myself. I don't. There's two thoughts that come to mind. The first one is I'm definitely clapping myself. And the second one is I would definitely not let it replace me, because I have like this kind of like thought in the back of my head that there can't be multiple of me. There can't be. There can only be one. So the clone's gonna turn on me. It's not a question of if it would turn on me. Oh no, that clone's turning on me. There's definitely gonna be a fight to the death. And I have concerns. I know my strength. I know how far I would go in a fight. We had a discussion about this. Like, if you're somebody that's been here for a while, you remember it. Yo, check out the podcast episodes I'm talking about. This is one of the very first episodes, okay? And I literally said, like, how I go about fighting. Yo, I have not gotten in a fight, but let me tell you something. If I got in a fight, it's not punching and pulling hair. Bitch, I am biting. I am shoving my thumb up somebody's ass. I'm taking my 2 fingers, driving it up their nostrils and pulling. I'm ripping ears off. So let me tell you something. I don't want to get in a fight with me. I don't want to get in a fight with my clone because I know it is going to be some brutal ass shit. So no, I wouldn't even create a clone to begin with. Y'all, in the episode, I said that if I were to get into a fight, like if I was like actually fully being threatened in the middle of the street, and this is like a person that's larger than me that I know for a fact could beat my ass. Because let me tell you something. One thing about me is, one, I'm not going to engage in a fight that I know I'm going to fucking lose. Like, I'm not going to fight Krishan Rock. I'm not fighting Krishan. If she came to me and she was like, yo, I want to fight you, I'd be like, you got it. You win. I'm not even going to touch you. Honestly, like, you could beat my ass. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not. But here's the thing. Growing up, my parents weren't against me fighting, actually. They weren't the type of parents that were like, oh my God, violence isn't the answer. They were quite the opposite. It wasn't about violence wasn't the answer. It was be prepared for violence, right? And they were like, if somebody comes at you and you decide to fight them, you better win the fight. Because if you don't win the fight, you're going to come home and I'm going to beat your ass. Your dad's going to beat your ass. Your brother's going to beat your ass. I'm going to call your grandma. Your grandma's going to fly down here from New York and she's going to beat your ass. And you know what? She's going to bring your aunts and your uncles and then they're going to beat your ass. So the way that it worked in my household was that if you got in a fight, you better fucking win. So boom, if I'm on the street and somebody is actually about to attack me and I don't have a choice, right? And I know that, yo, like, I can't win this fight. Like, I'm smaller than them. I'm getting butt ass naked and running straight at them. That's what I would do. What would you do in that situation? You're about to fight somebody and the person you're about to fight rips off their clothes, gets butt ass naked, and just books it straight for you. You're running away. If you're a normal person, if you're anywhere within the realm of a normal person, you're probably running away. So boom, that's my tactic. I don't want to get in a fight with me because my clone, I know for a fact she's going to pull out everything she's got, which is going to be 1, getting butt ass naked, and 2, ripping ears. I'm not trying to get my ears ripped off by like a butt naked ass Jezabelle. So let me tell you something right now. I wouldn't even create the clone. I would absolutely not do that. I'm sorry, guys. Someone said we got far from the topic. No. See, I looped it back around. Don't worry. I looped it back around. It all had something to do with the very beginning. Okay? It all had something to do with the very beginning. I had tackled on to this question, right? I fucking lost the question because maybe we'll find it. Hold on. All right, boom. Here we go. For the people who answered, you know what? I don't even think anybody answered this, so I don't even want to ask the question because now that I read this question, I kind of look at it and I'm like, Jezabelle, that's a stupid ass question. I think my mind just kind of ran amok with this question because, like I said, the first thing I thought when I read it was I would have sex with myself if I could create a clone of myself. But I tackled onto it for anybody that would be down to create a clone of themselves. If you could clone yourself, but you'd have to have sex with yourself in order to clone yourself, would you do it? But you know what? There's enough freaks in here for me to already know that you guys would probably be down for it. I already know if any of you think like me, you'd probably be like, yeah, what's the problem with that? I don't see no issue. No. All right. Let's get into some real shit, though. Y'all. Let's get into some real shit. Okay. Here we go. Here's some deep shit. Okay. Boom. You can create a perfect society, but at the cost of individuality and free will. Would you sacrifice freedom for utopia? My answer to this is hell no. Because to me, utopia and lack of freedom that doesn't correlate. I think the idea of having freedom is what I would associate with utopia. Yet, like, to me, the perfect world is for all of us to have complete and utter freedom in a safe way. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mean like freedom and like murderers just go out there murdering, you know? Like, we have the actual freedom to, let's say that everything like housing, basic human necessities are provided for us, like housing, food, water, all that stuff, so that people can pursue what it is that they would like to pursue with their free will. So if you're somebody who's working a 9-to-5 job, but your dream is actually to be a painter, you don't have to worry about working that 9-to-5 job because your basic necessities are provided for you. You can focus on pursuing that idea of art. I would never give up free will for the idea of utopia, because just perfect life and lack of freedom that doesn't go together to me. That's how I feel about that. That sounds horrendous. That sounds like it'd be a society where you are convincing yourself that you're happy. Damn, what the fuck was the name of that book? The Giver. That's exactly what that situation is. That's literally what it is. Oh my God, guys, I remember being in like fucking 6th grade reading The Giver. That book was life-changing. I don't know about anybody else, but like growing up, there's books that like you're forced to read in school that it's just like a requirement. And I really got into that shit. Like people would not read the books and they would try to do like cliff notes to try to like write their essays on the books and stuff. Yo, I got into some of those books. Lord of the Flies, The Giver, those were life-changing books for me. I'm talking about I was hooked on that shit. Those were great. I'm serious, if you were somebody that didn't read the books growing up and you just like kind of cliff noted it, or you didn't really pay attention, or maybe that like wasn't a requirement for you to read in school, I highly fucking urge you to read those 2 books. If you have to only read one, shit, I'd probably say read Lord of the Flies, because that one's fucking insane, and it pisses me off that to this day there hasn't been like a movie adaptation of it. Unless I'm wrong. But I'm like 99% sure. Ooh, someone said The Great Gatsby too. Absolutely. And then turn around and watch the movie. I don't know how you feel about the movie adaptation of that, but I'll tell you right now, I thought it was great. But Lord of the Flies is so insane. I don't even want to say anything about it because it's literally insane. Fahrenheit 451. I never got around to reading that book. That wasn't a requirement for me, but it's on like my list of things that I want to read in my lifetime because I've heard it's so good. So boom, y'all, pick up a book every now and then. You know what I mean? Pick up a book every now and then. But yeah, no, I definitely would not give up my freedom for the idea of a utopia. And I say that very strongly, idea of a utopia, because it's definitely not that. Here we go. Oh, I love this one. You have the ability to control the weather and manipulate natural disasters. Would you use this power to punish those you deem unworthy? Without a doubt, fuck yes. You know how fucking cool that is? Yo, do you know how cool that is? Without a doubt, somebody pisses you off, boom, thunder, lightning, boom. Like, that's crazy. I would absolutely do that. I would absolutely do that without a doubt. I would scare the shit out of people. If somebody pissed me off, oh, I wouldn't even think twice about it. That's not good. You see, you have impulsive people like me and you give them, like, I'm so glad humans actually don't have powers. Like, if we were on some sky high type shit, oh, it would be over with for people. I would abuse the fuck out of that. I don't even know if I'd be a superhero, to be honest with you. I'd probably be a villain. Literally, you can't give people like me. I have no impulse control. I'd probably be a villain. I'm going to be real with you. And that's actually really sad to think about. Actually really sad to think about. Going after the billionaires. Okay, you know what? See, there goes somebody using the power for good. Okay, see, that's smarter. That's smarter. I wasn't on that type of shit. I was on the type of timing that I definitely should not have powers. I'm rocking with you. What about karma? Really though, like, what's gonna happen to me? Because like, is there other people with powers, or am I like the only one that's got the powers? Because what karma then? You know what I mean? Like, if I'm the only one on the planet with the powers, the fuck is gonna happen to me? This is like kind of like a bleak conversation, but I'm just being real with you. Like, I'm putting myself literally in this position. And you know what? Like, we're about to get into this. Because people are saying like, oh, they'd go after billionaires, and somebody's bringing up karma. And this is exactly what you have to think about when it comes to like considering these moral dilemmas. But here's the thing. And I bring this up. Let's get into this next one so I can tie this together right here. The next question, keep that in your back pocket. The next question is, you have the power to predict the future with absolute accuracy. Would you use it to profit from market manipulation, even if it meant causing widespread financial ruin? I'm going to read that one again. You have the power to predict the future with absolute accuracy. Would you use it to profit from market manipulation, even if it meant causing widespread financial ruin? So what's your answer? People are saying yes. Somebody said no. A little bit of mixed answers here. Because here's the thing. What are you going to do with the money? Let's say that you say, yes, I would take the money. I would use market manipulation for profit, even if that meant causing widespread financial ruin. Well, could you resolve this with your money? Like, how much are we talking about profit? We're probably talking billions. If we're talking about financial ruin, then we're talking billions, which means you could use your money to probably correct this. Donate to people, save people, make changes in life. But with that follow-up question to people who are saying yes, because I'm just going to go under the assumption now, okay, that the people that are saying they would do that you would probably attempt to use your money for good afterwards. But that's an assumption. And to tie into that, would your morals change with more money? And so I tie that back into what somebody had asked before. What about karma? And somebody asking, what was the other thing? Oh, people talking about like attacking billionaires. So the thing is that we're going under the assumption that you would gain these powers, or that you would gain all of this money from market manipulation, and your morals currently as you stand where you are wouldn't change. But is it possible that should you have gained all of this money, would your morals change? Somebody said morals change every time. And that's correct, because I feel like there's no denying that. I feel like in our shoes now, as somebody who doesn't have, who's not rich, who's not a millionaire, who's not a billionaire, all of us sit here and we're like, oh, if we had this, then we would totally make differences. We would make changes. But what blows my mind is how many more people are gaining massive amounts of money, becoming millionaires, like especially with the access to the internet, but you don't hear anything from them making changes. Why is it that most millionaires and billionaires don't do something with the money? Because I feel like when they were younger, before they had access to this money, they probably had the same thoughts as us, which is, if I had that, I would give. I feel like that's a common thought to have. I feel like it's a very common thought to have, that if like everybody who's in a very average situation or in a less fortunate situation thinks, if I had that much, I would do something good. But then you get all these people that are in that situation and they're doing nothing good. And so it makes you wonder, would your morals change? Would your answer to that question change if you did gain that money? I don't know. I like to think that mine wouldn't, to be honest, because I once heard somebody said, and it was such a beautiful thing to hear, because when it comes to me and my idea of money, oh my God, this is so going to tie into something that we discussed. I almost want to bring it up now rather than later. A lot of this depends on your upbringing. To be honest with you, the thing that I heard somebody say that I thought was very beautiful was that they were asked, if you were a billionaire, what would you do with your money? And the person said that if I could become a billionaire, I wouldn't become one. I wouldn't be a billionaire. And they say it's because they would give it away. There is absolutely no reason for one singular person to have that amount of money. And I 1,000,000% agree with that. It just doesn't make sense. There is nothing in this lifetime that any singular person needs that you would need to be hoarding billions of dollars. And it blows my mind that even exists. But that's a completely different topic of discussion, right? The reason why I like to think that my morals wouldn't change is because of my upbringing. And I grew up in a family that didn't have very much, but then eventually they got their shit together and they were able to live a middle class life. My parents worked very hard. My mom was very young when she had me and my brother, right? And my dad worked like 3 full-time jobs. Like my dad was never home, right? He was putting my mom through school because she was so young. She had my brother when she started, her first kid popped out when she was like 20 or 21. And then I came right after. So she had her kids extremely young. Like as somebody who's 24 years old, like that blows my mind. And instead of forcing my mom to work, my dad told her to go to school, focus on school, and he said he would do all the working. So he worked 3 full-time jobs. I remember he was a real estate agent. He worked at Rent-A-Center as one of the people that like would bring the furniture to you and set it up in your home. And he also worked as a janitor. But here's the thing about the janitor job is that his janitor job was like 3 hours away. He was like very far. He was like 2 or 3 hours away. And it was a nighttime janitor. So it would be the middle of the night and he'd be leaving to go all the way up north to North Georgia, like hours away, clean a bunch of churches, and then drive hours back home. So my dad was a hustler, you know what I mean? Like this was the type of family that I grew up in. And then eventually, like my dad, after my mom started going to school, she graduated, she became a nurse. My parents started saving up money. My dad started investing in like businesses. He wanted to be a business owner. Fast forward, a business ends up taking off for him, and he ends up being able to support his family with it. So we ended up, you know, it's a story. It's a story for sure. It was we had our ups, we had our downs, but eventually my father leveled out and he was able to support us, which is amazing. But growing up in that type of household of having nothing to having something was enough for me to recognize that you can't judge people. And I remember my dad teaching me that when you have money, you give. He says, never hoard your money, never keep your money from people. When you see somebody that needs money, you help them. Help people. Don't let people suffer. He said, don't be that person. You know, he's very big on karma. He's a really big believer in spirituality and God. And so he believes that when you do good, you will receive good. So like, that's the type of like family that I was raised in. And so my dad was very big on like teaching me that. So actually like that's still instilled in me to this day. Cash is kind of non-existent. Everyone uses Apple Pay, credit cards, the whole nine, right? I personally keep cash on me at all times. Please don't rob me. I keep cash on me at all times specifically for homeless people and no other reason. My wallet has cash in it only for homeless people. Every time I see a homeless person, I give them the money that I have. I'll go to the bank, I'll pull out more cash, put it in my wallet, wait till I see the next person. If for any reason I see a homeless person and I don't have cash on me, I'll go and buy food. I'll go and buy food and I won't even say anything to them. Like it's one of those situations where I see a tent, I go, I buy the food, I leave the food right outside the tent and I go about my business. I know that when they come out of the tent, they'll see the food, they'll be happy. That's enough for me to know that I helped somebody. So I would like to think that if given a large amount of money, that my morals wouldn't change, that giver in me still would exist and that I would still give to people. That's what I like to think. Because as I've gotten older and and the amount of money that I make has started to grow, that part of me hasn't changed. And I would say that part of me, in fact, has grown more. And I feel even more open to giving more money. So I would like to think that if I became a billionaire, it wouldn't change. Somebody said it's about community. We are all sharing this earth. And that's 100% very real. Very, very, very real. But that's always something to keep in mind. Always something to keep in mind. That's why money is seen as such an evil thing, truly, because like I just went into a whole spiel about how and why I feel that I wouldn't change. But there's people out there that didn't have that upbringing. There's people who were taught that their money is their money and they don't have to give it away and they shouldn't give it away. Like you worked for this, it's yours, keep it. And so that they don't give, you know, like that's how they were brought up. And so if those people get more money, those are the people that keep the money. But I don't know. You never really know unless you're in the situation, huh? With that being said, maybe we should jump into, I feel like that ties so well into this other thing that I have. So I think I'm just going to jump right into it. This is called, this is actually a thought experiment called, what is it? I think it's called like the birth lottery. It's very interesting. Definitely look it up. There's tons of thought experiments that are very similar to this, but this is like, in my opinion, one of my favorite forms of this genre of thought experiment, right? And it's about this guy who's just like a kid on a walk with another kid. They're both friends and they're discussing religion and they're debating about religion. And the guy thinks, after having this discussion with his friend, he starts thinking, he says, imagine you'd been swapped at birth with another baby and raised in a totally different faith. Don't you think now you'd be defending with the same passion those beliefs, that religion, instead of your current beliefs? Isn't it obvious that you're only saying what you're saying because of the lottery of your birth? And so the idea is that the beliefs that we have, religion, politics, things like that, are not necessarily our beliefs, but what we were raised in. Now, again, I want to clarify that he was having this thought as a child. And so obviously when you become an adult, you know, your frontal lobe develops a little bit more. You start becoming more of your own person, questioning things a little bit more than you did when you were like 8 years old, right? But it's the idea that kids will go to bat to fight about religious beliefs and political beliefs that they don't even actually understand. They have no idea what it is that they're talking about. That's why honestly, I'll be real with you. The idea of being able to vote at 18 years old, as I've gotten older, is crazy to me. You know, when you're 18 years old, you're like, oh yeah, I know everything. You know nothing. You know nothing. You know what you've been taught and you know what you've been around. But outside of that, you do not know very much. No matter how much experience you've had, I promise you, there is so much more that you don't know. And the idea of being able to vote at 18 years old blows my mind. Every year, the older I get, it blows my mind more. You ever looked at if you're in your mid 20s, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. You look at an 18-year-old, that is a child. I look at an 18-year-old sometimes and I'm like, you're 12. You're 12 and they tell me they're 18. That's a lie. You're lying right now. You look 12. And I don't mean that in a mean way to anybody who's 18 and watching this. I'm just saying, as you get older, you'll realize how young you actually are and how young that you appear. But with that being said, back to what we're talking about. The idea of the birth lottery is what you know is what you're taught. And so it's about at what point do you become your own person? At what point are your thoughts actually your own thoughts? At what point are your beliefs your own beliefs? And I want to urge you to question this, because a lot of people, if you ask them right now, well, what's your religion? They'll turn around and they'll say, for example, oh, I'm a Christian. Well, why are you a Christian? Well, that's just what I believe in. Well, why? Well, that's just, I believe in God. That's my choice. Is it your choice? Or were you just raised Christian? Did you ever attempt to explore other options? Not trying to tell you to leave your religion or that your religion is incorrect, but it's more of like, did you actually choose this? Do you actually believe this? Or is this all that you know? And, you know, if that's all that you know and you enjoy what it is that you know and this is the religion you'd like to stick to, then more power to you. But how can you know that that's what you believe in if you've never explored further? And there's nothing wrong with exploration. Let me also make that clear. You can be part of a religion and still explore others to see if, do you actually believe in this? Because who knows? Somebody could sit here and tell me that they're a Christian and the only religion they've ever known, experienced, explored is Christianity. But they've never even looked into what it is to be Muslim. They've never looked into what it is to be Hindu, to be Buddhist. They've never looked into any of these things. But what if those religions actually align more with you and you just have no idea because you've just decided to stick with what was taught to you? Very interesting. It's a very interesting concept, and I just urge you to think more about your beliefs. You know, one day if you're just sitting there, just take a moment to genuinely ask yourself, okay, what are my strong points of myself that I believe in? And do I actually believe them? Well, why do I believe them? And if that answer of why only goes as far back as, well, it's what I was taught, maybe you should do a little bit more research into yourself. Maybe you should develop yourself a little bit more. It's very interesting because it goes farther than religion and politics. It really does. That's kind of just like the best example that I'm giving right now that I feel like is relatable for everybody, because religion and politics is really built into choice. But there's so many other aspects of our personality and who we are and the choices that we make in life that are little things that we don't even think about. Like, do you drink coffee or do you drink tea? Why? You grew up in a household where your parents drank coffee. You never saw them drink tea, so you never even thought to try tea. There's so many different things that we don't realize that we do because it was taught to us, not because of the fact that we chose to do this. So, you know, I don't know, question it a little bit. You might go, you might go crazy. You might end up like Jezabelle, but hey, is that so bad? Someone said, I try to take a bit of every religion. I love that take. That's so interesting. I love that so much. Religion is a beautiful thing to me. I really love religion. Even the people who don't believe in religion, I find the concept of it so interesting, because to me, religion is the most human thing to ever exist. The most human thing. And I say that because I think that religion is the embodiment of hope. Hope that there's more than this. Hope for something else. Hope for that the fact that things get better. Hope for the fact that there's a reason. You know, that's what religion is to me. And I think that that is the most human embodiment that there can be. And the fact that there's choices also, that's also such a human thing. Like we've created multiple choices of religion when in actuality what it really boils down to is almost damn near the same exact thing. With just like, you know, like maybe a few differences, but it's kind of just the same exact shit, just different path. So very interesting to me. Very, very interesting to me. But yeah, question things a little bit more. That also kind of leads me into, while we're talking about the idea of, what's it called? The birth lottery. I want to read you guys something that I found. This has been like the most fun that I've ever had doing research on stuff. And I really urge you to just do a deep dive into thought experiments and moral dilemmas, because you're going to find such interesting stuff and such interesting people who are just out there just questioning life. And this is one of my favorite ones that I read. And it's called The College Graduate and the Garbage Collector, a thought experiment from Robert Sapolsky. This is so interesting. Now, this is from an entire book, actually, that's called Determined, A Science of Life Without Free Will. I swear to God, I'm going to buy the fucking book after just reading this little short excerpt from it. But I want you guys to listen. It's a bit wordy, but stick with me, okay? It says, imagine a university graduation ceremony. The happiness, the pride, the families whose sacrifices now all seem worth it. The graduates who were the first in their family to finish high school, the ones who immigrant parents sit there glowing. And then you notice someone. Amid the family clusters post-ceremony, the new graduates posing for pictures with grandma in her wheelchair, the bursts of hugs and laughter, you see the person way in the back, the person who is part of the grounds crew collecting the garbage from the cans on the perimeter of the event. Randomly pick any of the graduates. Do some magic so that this garbage collector started life with the graduate's genes. Likewise, forgetting the womb in which 9 months were spent and the lifelong epigenetic consequences of that. Get the graduate's childhood as well, one filled with, say, piano lessons and family game nights, instead of, say, threats of going to bed hungry, becoming homeless, or being deported for lack of papers. Let's go all the way so that in addition to the garbage collector having gotten all that of the graduate's past, the graduate would have gotten the garbage collector's past. Trade every factor over which they had no control, and you will switch who would be in the graduation robe and who would be hauling the garbage cans. This is what I mean by determinism. And why does this matter? Because we all know that the graduate and the garbage collector would switch places, and because, nevertheless, we rarely reflect on that sort of fact. We congratulate the graduate on all she's accomplished and move out of the way of the garbage guy without glancing at him. It is the events of 1 second before to a million years before that determine whether your life and loves unfold next to bubbling streams or machines choking you with sooty smoke. Whether at graduation ceremonies you wear the cap and gown or bag the garbage. Whether the thing you are viewed as deserving is a long life of fulfillment or a long prison sentence. And this is kind of just like a very wordy way of saying that a lot of us are in situations that are predetermined outside of our control. Somebody who is from a less fortunate family that can't afford college, or maybe, for example, think about, what did you do when you got out of high school? When it was 3 p.m., the bell rang and it was time for you to leave. Did you go home? Did you play video games? Did you hop on the phone with a friend? Did you FaceTime? Did you go and walk around your neighborhood? Did you ride a bike? Did you go out to eat with friends? Or did you have to go and work a job? Did you go home to no parents being there? Did you go home to a dirty house that you and solely you were responsible for cleaning, for cooking, for taking care of your siblings while your single mother was out there working 3 jobs to try to hold everything together? What life did you have? Because the idea that everything is predetermined is that somebody who's in a less fortunate situation, maybe in the situation where they're doing the cooking, the cleaning, and taking care of the siblings, as though they're the mother, as though they're the parent, while the actual parent is out working these jobs trying to hold everything together. Not that that parent is a bad parent. That's not what anybody's saying. It's more or less saying that the kid is now taking over a role that child shouldn't be taking over. And a lot of those kids who end up in those situations are that when they graduate high school, the first thing on their brain isn't, I can go to college now, I have freedom. What's actually on their mind is, well, who's going to take care of my sibling? Who's going to take care of who's going to take care of my kid? You know, because the mother hasn't been there. Again, not saying it's a bad mother, but the sibling has now taken over the mother role. The sibling sees its other sibling as, this is my child. I have to take care of you. You're my responsibility. Mom's not around. I need to take care of you. So what does that sibling do? That sibling goes and gets a job. That sibling forfeits college. Not out of choice. It's out of the fact that they don't have a choice, actually. That's what the issue is. What about somebody who grew up in a household where maybe their parents were drug addicts or alcoholics and they didn't work any jobs and they lived in the slums and they had a very difficult upbringing. They didn't have any food. They didn't get new clothes. They wore the same shoes until even when they had holes in them. They didn't have a book bag. They barely made it to school every day because of the fact that their parents were drugged out or drunk and couldn't take them to school. What if they had to walk to school so they'd be late to school every day? These things are issues that are predetermined for children. And so a lot of people end up where they're at, not because of choice, not because of free will, but because of lack thereof. It's a very interesting concept. It gets a lot deeper than this, though. These thought experiments that we're discussing right now, I want to push you to look further into them because it gets very deep, and it gets farther than just thinking about being raised and in different environments. And it goes as far as to bring in ethnic backgrounds and different races because of the fact that it's been proven that obviously races outside of white people face a tremendous amount more hardship than white people do. And I read so many thought experiments. One particularly was so interesting to me that was talking about that when you think of areas that there is predominantly white people living, you'll find health stores, health restaurants, grocery stores. But when you think of more predominantly black areas, you're going to find what's known as food deserts, which is basically no actual groceries are within reach for the people that live in those communities. It's actually unhealthy food. It's fast food. And there's nothing else there. There's like no groceries within an actual like reachable area. Like you'd have to get in a car and drive far away in order to get to said groceries. So it's interesting that to read into these because it reminds you that you can't compare situations. The system is fucked. And yeah, it is. And that's why I want to urge everybody to read more into thought experiments because of the fact that for people who aren't aware of these things, it kind of opens up your mind a little bit more to listen to these things and to be understanding that most people end up in the situations that they're in, not because they chose it, but because they couldn't choose. And it's just a good reminder. Oh, that one was deep. That was a deep way to go. I enjoyed that. I was really looking forward to diving into that. There's so much more here, though. I have so many other thought experiments and moral dilemmas let's get into them. Ooh, this one's interesting. This is another cloning one. You have the ability to clone yourself. This time it's not about having sex with yourself, guys, I swear. But the clone will have all your memories and emotions up to the point of cloning. The clone will then be terminated to harvest organs for people in need. Do you proceed, effectively sacrificing a version of yourself to save others, or do you refuse, denying the potential for countless lives to be saved? Ooh, this one's so interesting. And I actually hope that this one is a bit difficult for you guys to choose from, because there's actually an entire movie that's like similar to this. And I don't recommend it whatsoever. It was probably one of the most boring and terrible adaptations of of this thought experiment. I had such high hopes for it, but it was so bad. I don't even remember the name of it. Some of you may know what it is that I'm talking about. But the premise of the movie is that there is a country that people are visiting that has completely different, like they have a completely different type of punishment system going on over there. So what happens is people go and they commit these crimes. Well, in this country, when you commit the crimes, you have to be subject to the way that crimes are punished in this country, obviously. So let's say you murder somebody. The punishment for this is the family member, the next higher up in the family member. So it would be like a son. gets to murder you. So like an eye for an eye kind of situation. But the thing is, this country heavily relies on tourism. So they give you two options. One, they'll put you in a room where you're tied up, and the eldest son of the person you've murdered will come and kill you the same way that you killed their father, okay? Or you can pay us, like, let's say a random number, $50,000. We'll create a clone of you, right? And we'll put him to be murdered by the son of the father that you've killed. But the thing is, this clone that you create doesn't know it's a clone. It thinks it's you. It is you. It is literally just you cloned. It has the same memories as you. It has the same feelings as you. It is you. But the thing is, you also have to sit and watch yourself be murdered. Sounds like such a good fucking movie concept, right? Yeah, no, they dog shit on it. Like, they ruined it. I thought it was terrible, actually. But I don't know. I wouldn't do it. I don't think that I would clone myself in order for my organs to be donated. I don't. It's so crazy. This is like such a real dilemma for me, because you could be saving countless lives, but you're dying. You are dying. And people are saying, I would, but can you, bitch, here's the thing. You're saying I would, right? So let's say a clone of you gets created. That clone of you doesn't know it's a clone. It thinks the same thing as you. It thinks, if I could create a clone of myself to be able to donate organs, I totally would. That clone is thinking the same thing until all of a sudden the clone opens his eyes and realizes, I'm tied down to a table about to get my organs removed. What the fuck is happening? I'm not a clone. I'm me. Oh my gosh. Do they share the same thoughts? Absolutely. It's a clone. It's you. So you would be dying. It is another variation of you, but just dying. I can't even, like, the idea of it is crazy. I couldn't do it. I absolutely couldn't do that. Does a clone have consciousness? Yep. It's you. It's a clone. 1-to-1. Someone said, oh my God, just hire someone to kill me. Like, bro, I would not. I couldn't do it. The idea of creating clones, I don't think like cloning things or people will ever genuinely be a thing, at least to the public. I'm sure it's something that the government has already done, you know, like not to get all conspiracy and tinfoil hat over here, but for sure it's already a thing, right? But I don't think that would ever be made available to the public because of these moral dilemmas of, even if we weren't creating clones of like actual people, like it wasn't a clone 1-to-1 of me, if they were just like replicating a human, there's so many different things that come to mind, so many different moral questions of, like, you've created a human, let's say it's not a 1-to-1 of anyone specific, it's just a human that's been created, right? Do they have the same rights as us? Do they have the same autonomy of their bodies as us? Even though women don't have very much. Anyway, move on. Do they have the same rights as us? Do we treat them the same as us? Are they having the same thought processes as us? You know what I mean? It just, the idea of it. Someone said if it was public, we would spam that shit. No, yeah, probably. There's so many things that would go wrong because I asked, would it have the same rights as us? Because it's very obvious. Humans, in the nicest way possible, are the most fucked up mammals. The most fucked up animal, the top of the food chain that is the absolute worst piece of shit animal to ever exist is a human being. And I say that because if the public had access to cloning or recreating humans, right? It would take 2 seconds before that shit gets abused in the wrong way. 2 seconds. 2 seconds before that shit gets abused. There's people that would use it for good, but I promise you there'd probably be 10 times more that are using it for bad. And I don't even need to get into the details as to what would transpire and why it would be bad. I'm sure you can use your brain to already know what it is that I mean. And I think that is just horrendous. Someone said chimpanzees low-key the worst. The chimpanzees are terrifying. But the problem with humans is that we have consciousness. That's the problem. We have consciousness that's rooted in being better than the other and having things that we can't have. And having access to clones and replications of humans would just be so bad. So bad. We're literally in nature's way. I think about roads, highways. Ooh, do y'all ever be driving down the fucking road and literally think to yourself that, like, this should all be trees? I think about that shit all the time. Like, I think about, like, if it was like 2,000 years ago, how like the roads wouldn't be there and like we would just be navigating, like walking through trees and like forest and shit like that. I think about that all the time. And I literally think about how much better that would be. That's the part that really sucks, is that, this ease of access and convenience, I hate it. I actually hate the ease of access and convenience. The idea of just all humans living in a big forest where we've created tents and shit like that, just, that shit sounds so much better. That shit sounds so much better. We could still further humanity, right? Without tearing down nature. And I hate the fact that we've done that. Like, why didn't we build homes into trees, into rocks? Instead, we just flattened the bitch and then just filled it with a bunch of fucking concrete. I hate that shit. I hate that shit. And this ties into an experiment that I told you guys about. I brought up like forever ago. Again, I don't remember the name of it, but I know somebody in the chat definitely does. Of where they took rats and they gave them literally everything they needed. They gave them all the convenience. They didn't have to like fight for food or anything. They gave them food when they needed it. They gave them access to water. They gave them everything. Convenience is what they gave these rats. And you would think that the rats would live in harmony and would be happy, but instead they became severely depressed. They developed so many problems. A lot of them went insane. A lot of them like literally killed themselves. Rats, they formed cliques and started fighting each other and became severely aggressive. And it's because the innate what's built into them, what is it called, the instinct that they have to like forage for food, to do things. Like, they didn't have to act on that instinct anymore, so it made them go fucking crazy, which speaks to a lot as to why like humans, like as a whole, as society progresses, becomes like more and more mentally like ill, like more depressed, more crazy, more sick. So someone said, damn, rats are us. No, literally, dog. Literally. All right, let's move into the next one. Let's see. Ooh. Okay. This one really, speaking of humans being like, a bit deranged, you are stranded on a desert island with a group of survivors. Food is scarce. And one of your companions is severely injured and unlikely to recover. You are faced with the choice of either letting them die a slow, painful death or killing them to provide food for the rest of the group. Do you take their life to ensure the survival of others, or do you let nature take its course, potentially condemning the entire group to starvation? Somebody said, I'm eating. Without hesitation. I think when I first read that question, that without hesitation, I think the same thing. Sacrifice 1 to save 10. That kind of situation, I absolutely think the same thing, where it's like, if we're all starving, we need to save people. This person is going to die anyway. I would absolutely do what's necessary in order to harvest their meat and eat it, dog. But at the same time, can you do that? Are you consciously able to kill somebody? Because the dilemma didn't say that this person was willing to allow you to kill them. Okay, I'm gonna take it a step further and say that it's quite the opposite. That when you approach this person, that's your companion, mind you. This isn't a random person. This is your, let's say, significant other. Ooh, take it a step further. This is your significant other, the love of your life. Okay, they have broken their leg. They're not gonna recover. It's probably gonna be a slow death, but they're looking at you. They're begging you. Please don't kill me. Please don't eat me. Please don't do that. Are you going to be capable of killing that person? Are you going to be capable of that? So there's like no way to save them at all based off of the way that the dilemma is explained. No, it says that this would potentially condemn the entire group to starvation because nobody else is injured. Nobody else is dying. So it's pretty much just hoping they can forage for what it is that would save them. What the fuck? Damn! Somebody said guilt trip them. Oh, so you want me to die instead? That's crazy. That's crazy. Ah. Somebody said, nah, if they beg, I'm not going to do it. Wow. People talk about guilt tripping is crazy. I don't know if I could, like I said, my first instinct when I read it is, oh yeah, obviously sacrifice the life of one to save 10, right? But then you have to give yourself more detail, give yourself more, make it more personable to you. Because when you look at it from an outside perspective of, this is just a person who is dying, it's a random person, you got to kill them to give meat to the rest of the people that are starving, or you all are possibly going to starve. But what if that person is you? Flip the situation. If you're the person who has a broken leg and is in excruciating like pain, are you going to tell the people of the group that they can kill and eat you? Would you? Would you want that to happen to you? Would you be okay with that? Put yourself in each person's situation. Each person, put yourself in every situation, every angle of the dilemma. Somebody said, I'll take myself out. For sure, kill me. Oh, wow, you guys are such good people. I love that. Oh, one person said no. Oh, we got some mixed answers. Some people said, yeah, do it. Take me out. And then some people are like, fuck no. Wow. So interesting. So interesting. The different perspectives. I don't know. I don't know what I would do. That's so scary. So scary to think about. I think if I were in the shoes of the person who had broken the leg, I'd probably be like, dog, let's just end it. Let's just end it. I think I would just allow myself to be taken. Because I'm going to die anyway. It's a broken leg. I'm probably bleeding out and shit. Like, this is the end, dog. Just go ahead and do it. But thinking about the ways that they would kill you, bro, that shit is so dark. That's so rough. That's crazy. Okay, boom. Here's another interesting one because you guys are really getting into these are hard. Here's an even more difficult one. So boom. You are a hostage negotiator with a terrorist who has taken a bus full of people. The terrorist demands that you choose one person to die or they will kill everyone. Do you make a choice, potentially saving many but condemning one innocent person, or do you refuse, risking the lives of all the hostages? What do you do? What do you do? Do you pick somebody? Can I choose the terrorist? I don't think so. I think it's literally anybody but the terrorist. Somebody said you stall. I don't think that's an option. You got to pick. It's either you choose one person or you kill everybody. So here's what I would do. I'd pick one person. I would. Right off the bat, that's the first thought that I have. Somebody said they could kill me. Ooh, but you're the negotiator, babe. You're the negotiator. You're the negotiator. They can't kill you. You got to pick somebody. Pick one of the hostages. This is perfect that people are already giving their answer as to exactly who it is that they would kill. People are saying they'd pick the oldest person because my follow-up question was going to be, who do you choose? Who are you choosing? Because that's exactly how I feel. If it were me and I have to pick and it's either kill everybody or pick a person, I too am picking the oldest person. I'm also going to just hope that the oldest person just kind of is like, go ahead, take me, dog. Because if I was like a hella old person, like if I was in like my 80s and I'm on a bus and a terrorist is like, pick one, I'd be like, yo, just take me. Honestly, 80 years in this bitch, that's enough. You know what I'm saying? Like that's good for me. Do you take the old person or do you take the youngest person who hasn't even lived life yet? I just announced any volunteers. That's a good way to choose. What if the oldest is like 30 with a whole family depending on them? Ooh, a step further. What if the oldest person isn't old? What if the oldest person is somebody who's actually still young? What if it's a bus full of like people in their 20s and 30s? What about that? Are we still picking the older person if it's a bus full of people in their 20s and 30s? Sorry, 30-year-old, you gotta go. Ooh. Damn. Damn. Any politicians? Dude, that's actually crazy. I love this. Because this is exactly what I was discussing before, where I said you have to think of every single angle. Like, okay, you would choose to kill somebody. Great. Who are you picking? Oh, I'd pick the oldest. Well, what if the oldest person is only 30? What if the oldest person is 30 and the whole family is on the bus? It's the husband, it's the wife, and it's the 2 kids. And the wife just gave birth. She's got a fucking baby, dog. One of the kids is a baby. And then they have a child, and the child is only like 5 years old. And daddy is 30. Mom is 27 and dad is 30. Ooh. I'll ask, who has cheated on their partner? These are valid questions. Ooh. Somebody said, who's a Trump supporter? See, everybody takes on different angles. Some people are saying politics. Some people are saying age. Somebody said, why not the bus driver? Profession. Taking all of this stuff into account. Ooh, cheating. Taking morality into account. These are crazy answers, guys. These are actually crazy. Nobody with kids. Is anyone a convicted felon? Wow. A convicted felon after we just had the discussion of the predetermined future. Oh my goodness. A felon. What if what if there is a convicted felon, right? But the felon was just marijuana. For just distributing marijuana. What then? These are crazy. Y'all, you get deep with it. I like the thought process, though. I like that it's not just pick a random person. I like that you guys are diving deeper into, well, it's got to be a specific person. And we're taking all angles into account. Ooh. All right, I got a fucked up one for you. Okay? And listen. I got a fucked up one. And I actually want you guys to answer this. Because I'm not going to give my answer until after I get your answer, okay? I want you guys to answer this. And the way that I want you to answer it is I want you to put, if you are a man, I want you to put M. And then I want you to say yes or no. If you are a woman, I want you to put W. And then I want you to put yes or no, okay? Simple yes or no answer. And I want to know if you are a man or a woman. Here we go. Everybody ready? You learn that your wealthy, childless uncle plans to leave his entire fortune to you, but only if you agree to have his child with your aunt. Do you comply, securing a life of wealth and comfort by engaging in incest, or do you refuse, potentially losing out on a fortune that could change your life? So if you're a man, this is asking you, would you sleep with your aunt for the money? If you're a woman, would you sleep with your uncle for the money? Okay, I am very glad we're all in the same boat and the answer is no. Because I'm not going to lie to you, when I wrote this one down, I was worried that there might be some differences in the answers depending on the gender. I'm not going to lie to you. Yo, there wasn't a single person that said yes. Thank God. Somebody's a woman and said how many times? I guess only once. Someone's a woman and said, drug him and said I did. I'd be a surrogate. I think you have to sleep with them. I think that's kind of the whole thing. Could I donate eggs? Sperm bank, low key. A lot of money. Like, okay, like if you want to know how much money we're talking about, like We're talking like life changing. Like let's say you like inherit like $1 billion. Like you're inheriting, boom, $1 billion. That's how much it is. We're not talking like 100. We're not talking like 100,000 or anything like that. We're talking $1 billion. Does anyone's answer change knowing that they'd inherit $1 billion? Yes. Oh, yes. Okay, we've got a few people that are saying that it changes for them. $1 billion. It's kind of like one of those questions where it's like, yo, like, what's your worth? You know what I mean? Where it's like asking a straight man, like, how much for him to suck dick or something like that. You know what I mean? How much for you to suck dick? Actually, answer that question. Answer it right now. No, don't answer that. Don't answer that, guys. Don't answer that. Don't answer that. Don't answer that. Somebody said I might be worth $1 billion, I fear. 10 million. Okay, well, you got a number, and that's fine. I could never do it. Listen here. I couldn't do it. $1 billion is a lot of money. I could not do it. I couldn't even some people were saying surrogate. I don't even know if I could surrogate. Like, if that was an option, I don't even know. Somebody said that type of money is unfathomable to us. Yeah, and I'd be fine with keeping it that way, to be honest with you. I'd be fine with keeping it that way. Someone said blindfolded. No, bro, but I know, you know what's happening. It don't matter if you got a bag on your head. It don't matter if you got a bag on your head. You know what's happening. Talking about put a blindfold on like you don't know what's taking place right now. I couldn't do that. Ugh. Somebody said, I'm going to say yes, donate half, move away, and never talk to them again. Somebody's already making plans. You know, I'm going to be real with you. I wouldn't judge. If somebody said like, oh yeah, no, I would totally do that for like $1 billion. I wouldn't judge. There's no judgment on my end. Truthfully, actually. Because I could, the same way that I'm saying that I wouldn't do it, I could see somebody saying I would do it. Because probably to what's going through the brain of people who are like, you know what, fuck it, it's $1 billion. They probably are thinking, I do it, take the money, and then just disappear and never speak to anybody again. And so like all you really got to live with is the thought of like what you did, you know? That's it. Imagine if your parents find out. Is that the worst part for you? Your parents finding out? Is it not like it becoming like genuine like public information? Is the worst part about it your parents finding out or just like living with the idea of knowing that it happened? So is it your cousin or your son? Seems like it's both, babe. It seems like it's both. Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go. Ooh. Here we go. Maybe this will be the one that we ended on. Would you rather live in a state of perpetual paralysis, unable to act or feel, or experience a rapid and agonizing death? Both are terrible. It's a quick death at least, but it's very agonizing. Or you get to live in a state of perpetual paralysis, unable to act or feel. You know, that somebody did do that. Who is that? The guy in the wheelchair, like the really smart guy. Not Steve Jobs, Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking did that, right? He was fine. He was good. Matter of fact, he was super fine because he cheated on his wife. How'd that happen? Anytime you think about trusting anyone on this planet, remind yourself Stephen Hawking cheated on his wife. Think about that one real quick. How'd he do that? I can't even... Because he didn't have a voice. He was talking through a computer. Can you imagine? What was said speech wise? What transpired in conversation that led up to it? Somebody said he cheated on his wife multiple times, went to gentlemen's clubs, and Epstein Island. My God. See, a wheelchair don't hold you back from shit. I'll tell you what. What does it say? What did it say? Perpetual paralysis don't hold you back from shit. Oh. Next time you think about trusting somebody, just remind yourself of that situation. Stephen Hawking cheated. I guess not once, y'all, but multiple times. And he went to strip clubs. That's actually crazy. So which one would I pick? You know what? If we're talking like about a Stephen Hawking situation, since he lived such a fruitful life, I'd probably do the perpetual paralysis, unable to act or feel. If we're talking about like a Stephen Hawking situation, if that's so, then I'd pick that. But if we're talking about like a situation where I am like supine, like just stuck in a bed for the rest of my life, staring at a ceiling, and I can't do anything at all, and like I can't feel, I can't talk, I can't move, like I just literally can't do anything at all, I probably would pick the quick death, to be honest. She took him back. Oh no. But you know what? She probably wanted to take him back because think about the financial situation she was in. I'd probably take him back too. I'm not even gonna hold you. I probably would have too. I don't even blame her. Especially if she had already given so many years of her life to him. He's probably gonna die anyway. You know what I mean? Like, he's gonna die soon anyway. Like, if you know he's got like maybe a disease that like he's gonna be dead soon, I'd forgive him. For sure. You know what I mean? Like, if I knew he was gonna clock out soon and I found out he cheated on me, like, I'd stick with it. I'd be like, it's okay, I forgive you. Make sure I'm in that will. And then, you know, go about my business when he's gone. That's it. Close his eyes and forge the will. There you go. See? It's all fixed. All resolved. I could live with that. I mean, especially if you've already given him so much of your life. Because I'm pretty sure they were together for a very long time. She was with him for, like, a very long time. Let me see if I could pull it up on Google. See what it says. Stephen Hawking. I should be able to just pull up his name and it say who he was married to. Yeah, 1995 to 2006. They were together a while. There was also Jane Hawking that he was with from hold on. I think that's the one he cheated with. Jane Hawking was the one. 1965 to 1995. Ooh. That's fucking crazy. She was with him since the beginning, too. She watched him slowly deteriorate. She stuck with him through that shit, and he cheated on her. That's ridiculous. He died of Lou Gehrig's disease. Okay, so, yeah, for sure. She probably knew he was going to clock out. I would have forgave him. I would have forgave him, too. Is he still alive? Oh, no, baby. He died. He died. He's gone. He's no longer here, to be honest. I'm sorry. I think he, like, uploaded his brain to, like, the cloud or some shit. I remember there was, like, it was, like, some speculation, some crazy shit back then, where it was, like, he passed away. And, like, at the same time, like, literally, like, I think it was, like, right before he died or, like, right after he died, it talked about, like, the ability to be able to upload your brain to, like, the cloud. Some crazy shit like that. It was, like, some conspiracy theory going on. So, I don't know. People kind of just moved on from that. I haven't. Stephen Hawking is somewhere out there, like, around us or whatever, wherever the cloud is. Anyway. That's it for today's episode. I hope you felt, as though you got to think a little bit more today. You know, if you liked the last episode, I think that you probably liked this one as well. This one was really interesting to me. We really, like, dived into, like, these thought experiments that I feel like make us question our thought processes. Not only because, you know, you sit here and I told you guys these dilemmas and these situations, and a lot of you, immediate response. But then the second that we add just a little bit more to the storyline, where it is, for example, where it's like you're on a bus full of people and a terrorist asks you, are you going to kill one or are you going to kill everybody? And everybody's like, well, I'm going to kill the one person. Well, who you picking? Well, I picked the old person. What if the oldest person's only 30? What if his family's there? The expansion on it is crazy. I also hope that you guys really did hear what it was I was talking about when I was discussing about the just kind of predetermined where people end up in life. Hopefully that if you had never thought about it, that kind of like pushes you to question things or question the way that you see or view things, as well as the conversation that we had about, like religion and questioning your upbringing and if your beliefs are truly your beliefs or if it's just what you were taught to believe. Either way, I enjoyed this episode. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your night. I hope you sleep very well tonight and wake up feeling great, because tomorrow's going to be a great day, as well as the rest of this weekend and the rest of next week. I love you all so much. I will see you next Friday. Bye, everybody.